Hi folks, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. I usually keep the content on this channel purely technical and free of my own opinions on the papers and topics that I cover, but this one is going to be a little bit different. It's basically a log of me learning something that is new and strange to me and relating it to my own existing mental lattice, so it's going to be tangled up with my own opinions and perspectives. These are some half-baked thoughts while I try to grok this newfangled area. So, what is prompt engineering? Before we get to that, we have to understand what large language models are and how they're invoked. To drastically simplify, you train an ML model with a huge corpus of text, and then you can get predictions from it by giving it inputs. These inputs are called prompts. These models are so large that, unlike the previous paradigm in machine learning, where a model was trained for a specific task, say summarization, they can perform a wide variety of tasks and are not specialized to one or a few. To do a specific task, they need a prompt. The prompt narrows down this humongous model to a specific task. It dictates the quality of the prediction. Accomplishing a task with these large language models boils down to crafting the right prompt. That's what prompt engineering is all about. The big question in my mind is that actually engineering? But I'm jumping ahead of myself. Templates are a very common way to specify prompts. They have a structure that then gets instantiated with details for a specific prompt. These are called close prompts. Another common type of prompt is the prefix prompt, where you specify the beginning and want the model to continue your prompt. For example, you might provide the opening paragraph of a short story and want the model to continue it. A few weeks ago on this channel, we looked at a system called Prompt Source that aims to be sort of an IDE for authoring, reading, browsing, and managing a large collection of such prompts. The big issue with prompts is that, well, someone has to think them up, and you don't know what exactly the model will spit back at you after taking in your prompt, and whether it will be what you were looking for. So you tweak the prompt and try again and again until you sort of kinda get back what you were hoping for. That's the funny thing. If you knew exactly what you were looking for, you would just write it yourself, but you don't. But also you do know it when you see it. So the next frontier seems to be looking for opportunities to bring automation to the prompt generation process itself, with techniques like mining, which is looking in large corpora for the prompts themselves, or paraphrasing existing prompts. I came across this great piece that talks about prompt engineering specifically with GPT-3. This is a great article with a lot of examples of prompt engineering. But just to quote, "It doesn't seem like engineering to me. Engineering needs a certain fixed pipeline with robust quality control, and we have to build workflows and have design meetings for the architecture. It might not be suited for most engineering tasks." End of quote. So I think the missing element to call prompt engineering is quality evaluation. Compare it, for example, with a web search engine. There's a well-defined metric for search quality, which measures how good search results are for a given set of queries, and search engines continuously monitor that metric. You can simply see what ranks people are clicking. If more people start clicking on result number 5, where they were clicking on result number 2 last week, then you know your search quality is getting worse. You could do something similar with the outputs generated by prompts, but how would you know to tweak the prompt to improve quality on the task? You also want some kind of predictability and stability. What if your set of prompts for your tasks works well on GPT-3, but then you have to tune and tweak them when GPT-4 comes out? And this becomes even more subjective when using text prompts that produce image or video outputs, like with Stable Diffusion or MidJourney. This is one paper I found that tries to relate properties of a prompt to the quality of the output produced by the model. But this is the sort of quantitative link between input and output that would justify the epithet engineering. In the meanwhile, all this has given rise to a new kind of role that I like to call the ML whisperer. And these ML whisperers are selling their skills by selling the prompts. If you don't want to spend the hours and hours, as well as the API access dollars, you could just buy the prompts from a place like promptbase.com. Tyler Bryden has a great video that looks at all this from a startup and business point of view. How would startups use this to build products? Where does prompt engineering fit into the product development lifecycle? I myself have only been looking at this from an academic point of view, but check out this full video. It's super interesting, and Bryden has tons of great references to jump off to. And what about the output from all these prompts, the output produced by all these large language models, the prose or the images? It reminds me of this brilliant old piece. It talks about GPT-2, not even GPT-3. The title is "Humans Who Are Not Concentrating Are Not General Intelligences." Speaking of the output from the model, the author says, quote, "If I just skim without focusing, they all look totally normal. I would not have noticed they were machine generated. I would not have noticed anything amiss about them at all." And this changes the whole way that one could or should read texts in the age of large language models. Again, to quote the author, instead of default to humility, which means assume that when you don't understand a passage, the passage is true and you're just missing something, the ideal mental action in a world full of bots is default to null, which means if you don't understand a passage, assume you're in the same epistemic state as if you'd never read it at all. End of quote. Okay, so that was me trying to learn a bit more about this new field of prompt engineering. I'm sure the nits I've pointed out will be fixed by the inexorable march of this awesome new technology. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.